Nice to meet you. This topic about tempo rhythms is strongly related to the previous topic about creativity. In my practice, I have come across the facts that people find jobs that don't correspond to their natural tempo rhythms. Do you know what is the tempo rhythm of business or organization? Let's just say that this is the number of complete creative cycles per unit of time. For example, the company LG Electronics or some other company makes electric kettles. The whole process of creating a teapot from the conception of its idea, design a model, industrial probe, manufacturing to the release of a line of teapots to the market takes around 2 or 3 months. This is considered a relatively short time frame. Perhaps there is even shorter. Let's take the example of making pies. I bake pies for 2 hours and then sell them for an hour while they are hot. The whole creative cycle takes around from 3 to 5 hours. It is a very short cycle. With kettles, it takes from 2 to 3 months. In the case of giant corporations, large industrial businesses like General Electric, Siemens, a full creative cycle for making complex industrial pumps or tomography equipment can take up to 1 or 3 years. In the pharmaceutical sector, the development of new medicine can take, on average, up to 3 years. This full cycle includes ideas, research and development, R&D, clinical research, up to 3 years or more, application, writing conclusions, certification, production, and release to the market. Every business has its own tempo rhythm. Why I'm focusing on this now? What happened in the past was that initially, searching for personnel for companies with 1-year cycle, we, by mistake, picked candidates that were used to a 2 or 3 months cycle. When people got into these industrial monsters, they felt terrified that nothing was going on. Candidates were perplexed. Hypothetically, I should have already passed the whole cycle by now. Everything should have happened. But what I get is a project that takes far too long to mature, be approved, supported by the corporation, and starts the next year. They simply didn't understand what happened. Or vice versa. Someone who is used to be working in a 2-month cycle hired up in a business with a 5 hours cycle, where the tempo rhythm and the creative frequency are very fast. You made the pies, you sold the pies, etc. This tempo rhythm knocks them out of the system as they struggle to pick up and match such a furious speed. They are stressed again. This is an awful stress. Just like people that move from a business with a 1-year development cycle to a business where the cycle is from 2 to 3 months. They also experience stress as they do not understand why everything happens so quickly. How can it be that such complex things happen so quickly? They ask. It is not natural for them to spin so fast because their creative cycle is longer. So they start shaking and say, "What a nightmare! What a nightmare! The company demands something from me, but I don't understand what. What should I do?" Such employees feel horrified because they are out of sync with the business creative cycle. But no one in the job market thinks about it. This topic is never covered in resumes, never discussed in interviews. But it does work amazingly when the job applicant's tempo rhythm coincides with that of the business. You need to find your company in terms of having the same tempo rhythm. With respect to the previous topic about creativity, try to remind and analyze the creative cycles during your life up to now. Maybe decide to watch this video again. This is to avoid landing a job which won't match your natural tempo rhythm. So you don't get bored in a longer cycle or feel overwhelmed in a shorter cycle. You do want to feel comfortable and harmonious in your new job. I can say the speed of your wheels should match the rhythms of the company you work for. So please go back to the previous video and analyze your creative cycles and how long it took from start to completion. You don't need to be perfectly precise. Just give an approximate estimation, say for example 1 week, about 2 or 3 months, or 8 to 12 months to get an idea. For example, there are wood carvers who can make toys for you instantly, very quickly. They will cut them out in a few hours. And there are wood carvers, who are not interested in making wooden toys, but prefer to cut out one table or cabinet, a sideboard with inlay that might take them up to a year. They do not sell it for a year, and they have enough patience to work on each piece every day with inspiration. And they understand that the final result will be in a year. Making hot pyres is not their tempo rhythm. They endure long cycles. But here, please, attention. There are people who have the ability to combine different tempo rhythms at the same time. They can participate in processes in different tempo rhythms. Each person vibrates at different frequencies. For example, there are things that I do very quickly. There are things that I can be doing for a year. There are things that take me up to 2 or 3 months to complete. Ideally, people should be universal and able to manage different tempo rhythms. However, with regards to choosing a job, it would be good if you understand your own frequency or vibration. I understand that I have a certain cycle in executive search. I have to find the right candidate for the position of a top manager for my clients in 21 days. I know that if I haven't found the candidate in 21 days, that's it. I'm kicked out of my cycle, and I may continue but not find the right candidate. Most likely I will never find them. 21 days is my limit. It takes me from about 1 hour to 21 days to complete my job with every order from my clients. I'm aware of my own tempo rhythms, and I can only work with those clients who match my research tempo rhythms. If someone says, "Find us somewhere who can start work in a year," or "Find us someone who can start to work in 3 days," I understand that this is not my tempo rhythm, and I do not take these types of orders. There is some kind of tempo rhythm that has already been tested by life, and it is your dominant vibration. It would be very cool if you can realize your dominant frequency, and when you go through the interview, ask your employer questions about the ideal tempo rhythm for the job they offer you, about what the full creative cycle from the beginning to the finish will be. Based on their answers, you can compare it to your dominant cycle and see to which extent you match in terms of the job and the company. Transport, logistic, for example, have different tempo rhythms depending on the company. There are companies that transport goods to the other side of the globe for a month. And there are companies that have a delivery time of several hours inside the city. Both are transport logistics. In one company, there are people who have a monthly tempo rhythm. They are comfortable in monthly pace companies. In another company, there are lucky people who have some hour space, and they manage to make deliveries within a few hours around the city. This is a very important additional point to this course. That is why I strongly recommend you to think very seriously about it. By the way, the great masters of the world, the masters of life, and very wise people say that couples, a husband or wife, also ought to choose each other according to their tempo rhythms. If the pace of the spouses matches, there will never be signs of discord in the family. They will be able to resolve all issues. If they do not match in their pace, for example, one turns quickly like a nibble wheel, and the other barely turns around, they will definitely have disharmony and discord in their relationships. If this law of tempo rhythms and creative cycles affects our life so significantly, and since we are now in the process of looking for a best job, we can consciously go to our new future and adjust it. Think ahead, so as not to expose ourselves in the future to unnecessary stress of an incorrect paces, where we will simply burn a huge amount of time and will not see the fruits. Thank you very much and have a nice day.